Perfectionism is the voice of the oppressor. It will keep you cramped and insane your entire life. By Anne Lamott. We cannot talk about procrastination without talking about their sister or their partner in crime, perfectionism. I wrote a book on this. I lived so many years with this by my side, living under the false narrative that I thought I needed to be perfect to be worthy of going for my dreams. And I wonder if this is the same for you. You will hear me talk a lot over the next few months about the land of and. It is a magical place, and both procrastinators and perfectionists are not very good at visiting the land of and. The land of and is the polar opposite to the land of or. This or that, good or not, perfect or useless, driven or lazy. And today we're going to visit the land of and I'm going to invite you to take notes if you would like and write down the areas of your life where perfectionism serves you and write down the areas of your life where perfectionism stops you. Perfectionism is not a bad thing. It's when it oversteps its boundaries that it can cause trouble. So right now, I'd like you to reflect on a certain area of your life or an ambition or a goal that you have yet to move forward or take action with, and ask yourself this question. Is perfection my goal? Am I expecting myself or this thing, this project to be perfect? And if so, which parts of myself that maybe are a perfectionist or which parts of this project do need to be perfect? And which parts of this project or myself can I release and say, this can be good enough to move out into the world? So I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist. I think I'm definitely more on the side of no longer being a perfectionist, but there are parts of that character trait that I don't want to let go of. So there's parts of me that I don't want to change. I will always give 150%. I will always go above and beyond what is required. I don't want to let go of that. I like to think of myself not being a perfect friend, but being a really good friend. And I don't want to let go of that. I like to think of myself as a student, a learner of life, always trying to figure out better ways to show up in the world. I don't want to let go of that. But the two things that I have let go of are, one, it needs to be perfect before I share it with the world. And two, unless I hit it out of the park a million times over, I'm not going to allow myself to celebrate the wins. These days, I keep the parts of my character that help me excel, that move my ambition forward, but I also allow myself to feel joy along the way. I move from a place of hope and possibility versus doubt and dread. Now, perfect is only a word until we attach an emotion to it. I know several perfectionists that actually have great joy because it doesn't define them and it doesn't hurt their relationships with others. So first question to you is, if you consider yourself a perfectionist, is it helping you or is it hurting you? Part two, which areas of your life does perfection help you? And write those down because we're going to keep those. And which areas of your life does perfectionism hurt you? And we want to leave those in the past. Now, we may be a perfectionist in one area of our life, but not in another. It is when that perfectionism begins to cause trouble in our relationships with others and ourselves, we might want to take pause and look at how we might want to shift or shape the way we interact with the world. Take a moment and reflect lightly on your relationship with others. Do you expect them to be perfect? In my past, I never expected other people to be perfect, but where my expectations overstepped their boundaries, I would feel personally responsible if I assumed they did not have a perfect experience anytime they were around me. Exhausting and debilitating. My relationship with work, while there were parts of my perfectionism that actually helped me, I'm sure is a big reason why I did so well, what it did do, it stripped away some of my joy. As every time I would step on stage, I would expect myself to be perfect. And if I had made the slightest mistake that I guarantee you no one else would have noticed, I stepped off that stage and I would beat myself up for weeks. That is not healthy. And then my relationship with myself was toxic, to say the least. If I didn't show up perfectly, if I wasn't eating perfectly, if I wasn't working out perfectly, if I hadn't said the perfect thing, if I wasn't the perfect date, it was not a good day. Oh my goodness. And I struggled with this for 7 years. And this struggle became so intense, it led to anxiety that then grew into panic attacks. Now, we're not going to go into that in this episode, but I do want you to kind of lightly gaze upon this idea of, does it have to be perfect to be worthy of my ambition? Now, as this show is called The Ambitious Procrastinator, I'm assuming you have some ambition, and that could be around your family. It could be around your own personal health. It could be around your job, your career. Whatever it is, I want you to think about whatever that goal is. It could be a 3-month goal, a year goal, a 3-year goal. Now, when you reflect forward on that goal, are you expecting the outcome to be perfect? Can you give yourself some leeway, some breathing room to make errors along the way, to ask for help along the way, to make mistakes and not look at that mistake as though you are the mistake? This is where perfectionism gets very tricky. And this is why the land of and is a destination I encourage us all to move our GPS toward. The land of and allows your journey to have perfect moments that you can celebrate boldly and proudly. And it's going to allow you to have moments of disappointment and misses and perceived failures. But one does not outweigh the other. I can have a spectacular success, and parts of that might have gone wrong along the journey. But that mindset allows me to continue forward through the misses, through the trials, through the learnings, through the errors, instead of being completely sideswiped anytime anything goes wrong. The land of and allows my room for ambition, for me to move forward, to work hard. And it allows me moments of ease, to step back, to pause, to reflect, to maybe shift some of my energy toward my family, to my relationships. It allows me to have moments of drive and moments of recovery. The land of and allows us to have days where we can feel like we can conquer the world, and also realize that we're human, and there are going to be days when we have lesser energy. We do compare ourselves to others. We feel stuck. We wonder if this is worth it. And all of that is part of being human. Tal Ben-Shahar says one of the greatest gifts we can give to others is the permission to be human. And the greatest gift we can also give ourselves is to give that grace to ourselves, allow ourselves the permission to be human, flaws and all. So staying on future casting, what I'd like you to do when you have time or now, grab a pen and paper and think forward 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years from now, that goal, that big audacious goal that maybe you haven't shared with anyone yet, but we're going to talk about declaring our goals in a future episode, because if you name it to claim it, that social accountability really does help sometimes. So think about your goal and don't downsize it. Don't go, oh, who am I to be thinking so big? Let your heart do the speaking on this one and write it down. Write that goal down. Now, what I'd like you to do is write down this sentence. If it did not have to be perfect, I would. Or if I did not have to be perfect, I would. And then you're going to write down 6 things. It might be, if it did not have to be perfect, I would do a podcast. I would get up and speak on stage. I would ask the person out on a date. I would try and change my hair. I would dress differently. I would go and travel. I would go for the job. I would ask for the raise. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is you don't overthink it. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about grammar. These are called sentence stems, and Nathaniel Branden, one of the thought leaders in the world of self-esteem, allows us, when we can think and write without trying to second guess ourselves, it is amazing what our heart will put onto the paper. And this just gives us more fuel for our best possible future, not our perfect future. And then you can look at this list and then go, whoa, perfectionism is actually stopping me here. It brings a reality, a realization, a clarity, which is one of the C's of procrastination, to what might be stopping us. Because many times perfectionism has been such a coat that we've worn for so long, we don't even realize we're wearing it. So, what one thing could you start today if you knew it didn't have to be perfect? If you knew you did not have to be perfect? What can you say yes to today and then get ready for your yes? If we wait for the perfect moment to start, or to feel like we're perfectly ready, or to feel like we have everything perfectly figured out, we will never get started. What can you say yes to today? What is on that list that you wrote? If I knew it didn't need to be perfect, I would pick one of those that speaks to your heart loudly. And now reverse engineer what it is that you have to do to get that across the finish line. And what is one step you can take today to get ready for your big, audacious, beautiful, brilliant goal? What would happen if you let possibility versus perfection be your driver? And as Elizabeth Gilbert said, perfectionism is just fear in really good shoes. So perhaps today is the day you take off the shoes and you walk barefoot for a while.